Okay, we're going to look at using the sources panel in conjunction with the clone brush. Now, I've got a set of pre-prepared images here, and actually they're from a stack of images I took that I was using for object removal using stacking. The idea being to clear this area of pedestrians. But with the sources panel, we're actually going to flip that on its head, and instead we're going to composite people from the different frames into just one of the images. So then the sources panel isn't displayed by default, so to enable it we can go to View, Studio and Sources here. Okay, so we'll just drag that out and just enlarge it slightly. So then the way this works is thus. This is our base image. We're not cloning anything from it, so we can move on to number 2 here. So then, anytime we click to add a new source on the sources panel, here it adds whichever document we've got open at the time. So number 2. Now before we go any further, what we need to do is set a predetermined area to use for this clone source. And to do that, we want to first select the clone brush tool here. Then all we do is simply double click on the chosen global source in the sources panel. Now when we hover back over our image here, the cursor will change. So let's decide what we want to take from this image. I'm going to take these 3 ladies. Now generally, because the images aren't aligned beforehand and they were shot handheld, there's going to be a kind of geometric mismatch. So rather than select the ladies here, we want to select a spot that's going to be common to our base image. And if we have a look down here, that's going to be this power box. So back to number 2, we can just click and that will set that area as the beginning of the clone source. So then if we move over to image 1 here, and we go ahead and select the clone brush on this image, we can then click to select our clone source, and sure enough, as we hover over, we can see it's referencing that second image. So then, in addition to this, what I'll do is increase the width of the clone brush, and also I'll take the hardness all the way down, just for a softer blending. Then what I want to do is line up that power box from the second image with the first image, and then just simply click. And I can start dragging and it will begin cloning from that second image. Now at this point, you can let go of the mouse button and it will be fine. The positioning is now all relative, so we can just, at our leisure, go in and click drag to clone in bits from that second image that we want. Perfect. So I've now added those 3 ladies into my initial scene. Now then, let's take a look at the third image. So here I've got a couple walking along that I want to put into my first image. I want to select, once again, an element that's common to all the images, so I'll pick this bin here. So first of all, let's once again add a new global source. Then we need to select the clone brush tool. You have to have the clone brush active before you can set a predetermined point here. So I can double click, hover over the bin, click it to set it as the clone point. Then I can move back over to the first image, zoom into the area and select the third image from the sources panel. Now, you'll notice a bit of an issue here. As I go in to start with my predetermined spot, it would mean erasing this man here with the push chair. So in order to get around that, all we actually need to do is create a new pixel layer and clone onto that instead. So I'll just create a new layer here, and then once again line these 2 areas up like so, and come out a bit so I can see what I'm doing. Add this couple into the image like so. So then, to bring this man and his shadow, if we see here, back into our scene, we can go ahead and select the Erase Brush tool. Now I'm going to take the hardness down on this eraser, increase the brush width again, and we're erasing off that pixel layer that we just cloned to. So we get to keep our couple and also bring back in the man and his shadow, like so. Okay, looking good so far. Now, if I go back in, select the clone brush again, and we're using the third image still, we've got over here a man and woman I'd like to include in the scene. So I'll go ahead and click drag to clone them in, like so. And once again, notice we're cloning onto a pixel layer above the original background layer, so we can easily erase bits that we don't need. So that means I can go in with the erase brush and just get rid of any areas that look a bit visually mismatched. But I've noticed a slight issue. We've actually cloned this poor man. Here he is over here in the original image. So not a problem, all I need to do is go into my fourth image here, and I'm going to add it as a global source, select the clone brush, double click on it, and as a marker we'll use this globe-like light here. Okay, so then we'll move across back to the first image, select the fourth image as our global source, make sure we're on the clone brush tool, not the erase tool, and if we move up here we'll be able to align the light like so, and then we can just paint over the area to remove the man. Okay, so I'll just move across to the view tool and come out to see the entire image. So there we go. Using the sources panel is a great way of setting up multiple cloned sources from multiple images. And in fact, we don't actually need to have these images open. Let me just go ahead and I'll close 2, 3, and 4. And you'll see they remain in the sources panel. And indeed, if I go in with the clone brush and I select, say, number 2, it still references that initial point that we set in the second image. So we don't even need to have these subsequent images open to be able to clone from them. Okay, so let's just do a quick before and after, and I'll just get rid of the sources panel since we no longer need it. I'll go over to my history panel here and I'll scrub all the way back to the beginning. So as we can see, using cloned sources, we managed to composite in several other pedestrians to our image in a very efficient manner. So I hope that's helped to give you an idea of how to use the sources panel. Don't forget to check out the other video tutorials, and if you have any questions, please do ask on the Affinity forums. Thank you for watching.